Imagine a world where sound itself has gone to sleep, where every footstep is a muffled secret, and the air is so crisp it feels like drinking light. This is, to the fantasy, it is the reality of standing in a pine forest blanketed by fresh, untouched snow. We're not just talking about a pretty scene. We are entering one of the planet's most silent, profound, and ecologically vital sanctuaries. That pristine white cover you see is far more than a winter decoration. It is a complex, living blanket, a survival tool, a temperature regulator, a water reservoir, and a fragile indicator of the health of our entire global climate system. Today we are going on a deep, immersive journey into the heart of a snowy pine forest. We will decode the science behind that mesmerizing silence, uncover the hidden struggle for life happening beneath the snow, and reveal the astonishing ways these trees not only survive, but thrive under the crushing weight of winter. Most shockingly, we will confront the invisible threats that are quietly dismantling these icy fortresses, threats that are closer to your home than you could possibly imagine. So, if you're ready to see winter in a way you never have before, to understand the silent language of a snowy wood, and to discover why the fate of these distant, quiet places is inextricably linked to your own, then you need to watch every single second of this documentary-style exploration. Trust me, by the end, you will never look at a snowy tree the same way again. Let us start with that profound silence. The first thing you notice isn't something you see, but something you don't hear. The world is hushed. This is just an absence of noise. A physical phenomenon. Fresh, fluffy snow is incredibly porous, filled with countless tiny air pockets. When sound waves travel towards it, they don't bounce back in a sharp echo as they would off concrete or bare ground. Instead, they penetrate this labyrinth of ice crystals and air, where the energy is dissipated and absorbed through millions of microscopic collisions and friction. It's nature's most perfect acoustic tile. This sound-absorbing quality has a profound ecological purpose for the creatures that call this forest home in winter, like the snowshoe hare, the great gray owl, or the red fox. This silence is a matter of life and death. Prey can move more stealthily under this acoustic cloak, and predators must rely on hyper-acute senses of sight and vibration. This creates a pressurized, high-stakes world where the slightest crack of a twig or the softest rustle under the snow becomes a deafening signal. The trees themselves contribute to this quiet. Their needles, often coated in a layer of rime ice or simply burdened by snow, do not rustle in the wind with their usual dry whisper. The wind itself is baffled by the dense, snow-laden canopy. This creates an almost church-like atmosphere, a natural cathedral that demands reverence. But this silence is deceptive. Beneath the surface, in a secret world known as the subnivean zone, there's a bustling, feverish activity. This is the critical space between the frozen ground and the insulating blanket of snow, where a constant temperature hovers just around freezing, regardless of whether it's -10 or -30 degrees Celsius above. For small mammals like voles, shrews, and mice, this is their entire winter universe. They create elaborate tunnel systems, foraging for seeds, roots, and fungi, safe from the bitter air and many predators above. Their very survival, and thus the survival of the predators that depend on them, is made possible by that insulating snowpack. The silence above, therefore, is not an emptiness but a lid on a boiling pot of life. Disrupt the snowpack through an unseasonal thaw, a rain on snow event, or human activity like snowmobiling, and you collapse this entire hidden city, exposing its inhabitants to fatal temperatures and making them easy pickings for owls and foxes. So that peaceful quiet is actually the sound of a functioning ecosystem, a delicate balance where physics, biology, and meteorology intertwine to create a refuge. Now, let us look at the stars of the show, the pine trees themselves. How do they, these giants rooted in place, withstand months of freezing temperatures, blizzards, and the immense physical load of snow. Their strategy is a masterpiece of evolutionary engineering, a slow-motion ballet of adaptation. First, consider their iconic shape. The classic conical form of a pine or a fire tree is no accident. It is a perfect architectural design to shed snow. The steeply sloped branches act like ramps, allowing heavy snow to slide off before its weight can build up to the point of snapping the limb. This is aided by the flexibility of the wood itself. Unlike the rigid branches of many deciduous trees, conifer branches are often springy and resilient, bending under load rather than breaking. Watch a heavy bough after a snowfall. It does hold static weight. It sags, it creaks, and eventually it unloads its burden in a soft whoosh, springing back upwards. The needles are another marvel. They are narrow, waxy, and covered with a thick cuticle, which minimizes water loss, a process called transpiration. In winter, when the ground is frozen and liquid water is locked away, losing moisture is a death sentence for a plant. The small surface area and waxy coating of pine needles are a direct defense against this. Furthermore, these needles are built to last. While deciduous trees expend enormous energy each spring to regrow an entire canopy, pines retain their needles for 2 to 7 years, allowing them to photosynthesize whenever conditions permit, even on a surprisingly warm winter day. Inside their cells, they employ a kind of natural antifreeze. They increase the concentration of sugars and other solutes in their sap, which lowers its freezing point, much like salt on a road. This prevents the formation of large, sharp ice crystals that would puncture and destroy delicate cell membranes. Instead, ice formation is controlled and happens in the safe spaces between cells. The tree also undergoes a process of cold hardening in autumn, where it gradually acclimates its tissues to colder temperatures, changing the composition of its cell membranes to remain fluid and functional. So, when you see a pine tree standing green and steadfast in a white landscape, you are not looking at a tree that is merely enduring winter. You are looking at a master chemist, a brilliant architect, and a resilient survivor actively managing its internal environment to wait out the cold. Its stillness is not passivity, it is intense, focused endurance. But the story of the snowy pine forest extends far beyond the trees and the immediate animals. That blanket of snow is a fundamental part of the global hydrological cycle and a powerful climate regulator. This is where the local scene becomes a planetary drama. Let us talk about the snowpack as a water bank. In temperate and boreal regions, mountain pine forests act as crucial water towers for entire continents. The snow that accumulates in these high, cold forests throughout the winter doesn't melt immediately. It is stored. Then comes spring and summer. This frozen reservoir melts slowly, feeding streams, rivers, and aquifers that provide water for drinking, agriculture, and industry for millions of people downstream. The pine forest itself is the perfect guardian for this bank. The canopy intercepts falling snow, preventing it from compacting too quickly on the ground and allowing for a fluffier, more water-rich pack. The shade provided by the trees regulates the speed of the melt, ensuring a steady, sustained release rather than a devastating flood. Now, let us introduce the albedo effect, one of the most powerful climate feedback loops on Earth. Fresh snow has a very high albedo, meaning it reflects a huge amount of the sun's incoming solar radiation back into space, up to 90%. A dark green pine forest, by contrast, has a very low albedo. It absorbs most of that heat. When snow cleanly blankets the forest floor and crowns the trees, it dramatically increases the reflectivity of the entire landscape. This localized cooling effect is significant. However, here lies a vulnerability. As climate change leads to warmer temperatures, the timing and amount of snowfall are altered. More precipitation falls as rain, which can instantly compact or even wash away the snowpack. This exposes the dark ground and trees earlier in the season. The landscape, as albedo plummets, it absorbs more heat, which leads to further warming and even less snow, a vicious cycle known as the snow albedo feedback. This is already being observed across boreal forests, leading to earlier springs, altered growing seasons, and stressed ecosystems. Furthermore, the pine forest snowpack is a critical carbon sink. The cold temperatures and the insulating snow layer slow down the decomposition of organic matter on the forest floor. Fallen needles, cones, and deadwood freeze and are preserved. This locks away carbon that would otherwise be released into the atmosphere as carbon dioxide or methane by decomposer organisms. In a way, the winter snowpack puts the forest floor's carbon cycle on pause. A shorter winter with a thinner, less reliable snowpack means more time for decomposition to occur, potentially turning these forests from carbon sinks into carbon sources. This is a silent, slow-motion time bomb ticking beneath our feet. The health of the snowy pine forest is not just about scenic beauty, it's about water security, climate stability, and global carbon budgeting. When we talk about protecting wilderness, we are, in a very real sense, talking about protecting the functional machinery that maintains the balanced systems our civilization depends on. This brings us to the unsettling and often invisible threats facing these winter sanctuaries. The most pervasive danger is, as we've touched on, anthropogenic climate change, but its manifestations are specific and brutal. One is the rise of winter, rain-on snow events. Instead of gentle snow, warmer atmospheric systems bring heavy rain. This rain falls onto existing snow, adding immense weight that can cause catastrophic branch breakage and even bring whole trees down, a phenomenon known as a silver thaw. The rain then freezes into a thick layer of ice on the ground, creating an impenetrable crust over the subnivean zone. This ice lid cuts off the small mammals from their food sources in the surface air, leading to mass starvation and suffocation. It also makes foraging impossible for deer, elk, and moose, who must then starve or venture dangerously close to human settlements in search of food. Another threat is the proliferation of pests. Warmer winters fail to kill off native and invasive insect larvae. The mountain pine beetle, for example, is devastating millions of acres of pine forest in North America. Cold snaps of minus 30 to 40 degrees Celsius that historically kept beetle populations in check are becoming less frequent and shorter in duration. The beetles survive, emerge in greater numbers in the summer, and attack trees already stressed by drought and heat. They bore under the bark, introduce a blue-stained fungus that blocks the tree's nutrient transport system, and kill it from the inside out. You can see the result, vast stands of rusty red dead trees poking through the snow, a morbid sight known as red forest. These dead trees then become tinder for another climate-amplified threat, winter wildfire. Yes, wildfire in snow season. Traditionally, snow meant a definitive end to fire risk. No longer. Warmer, drier autumns and winters, coupled with the buildup of dead fuel from beetle kills, have led to the phenomenon of zombie fires or overwintering fires. These are fires that smolder deep underground in peat or root systems throughout the winter, hidden under the snow, only to re-emerge with vengeance in the spring. The snow itself can mask the true danger, allowing these fires to travel undetected. The combined assault of ice storms, beetles, and fire is transforming resilient pine forests into brittle, degraded landscapes. This isn't a distant, abstract problem. The disruption of these forests affects the stability of the very snowpack that cities and farms rely on for summer water. It releases stored carbon. It destroys biodiversity. The quiet crisis in the snowy woods is a bellwether for broader systemic failures in our global climate system. So where does that leave us with a responsibility and an opportunity? Understanding the intricate value and vulnerability of the snowy pine forest is the first step. The second is recognizing that its fate is not sealed. It is being written by our collective choices, and there are concrete, science-backed actions we can take to be part of the solution. This isn't about just saving pretty postcard scenes. It's about safeguarding fundamental ecological services. Let's talk about conservation and sustainable forestry. Protecting large, contiguous tracts of boreal and montane pine forest is paramount. These intact forests are more resilient to pests, fire, and climate fluctuations. They maintain healthier snowpack dynamics and larger, more stable wildlife populations. Supporting policies and organizations that advocate for the creation and maintenance of protected areas is crucial. But conservation isn't just about locking land away. It's also about managing the forests we use. Sustainable forestry practices that mimic natural disturbance patterns, like leaving buffer strips along streams to regulate water temperature, creating wildlife corridors, and selectively harvesting in a way that maintains forest structure, can allow us to use resources while preserving ecological function. This includes respecting the winter forest. The growing popularity of winter recreation, like snowmobiling, ski touring, and snowshoeing, brings people incredible joy and connection to nature, but it must be done responsibly. Compacting snow with machines or even foot traffic can collapse the subnivean zone, directly killing the mammals living there and disrupting the food web. Staying on designated trails and in managed areas minimizes this impact. Furthermore, the noise and disturbance from recreational activities can stress wildlife during a season when their energy budgets are razor thin. An animal forced to flee repeatedly uses up fat reserves it cannot afford to lose. Practicing quiet, low-impact recreation and giving animals a wide berth is a sign of respect for their winter struggle. On a broader scale, the most significant action we can take is to address the root cause, climate change. The reduction of greenhouse gas emissions at a societal level is non-negotiable for the long-term survival of these ecosystems. This translates to personal, community, and political action. Personally, it means examining our carbon footprints, our choices in transportation, home energy, diet, and consumption. It means advocating for and investing in renewable energy, energy efficiency, and sustainable infrastructure in our communities. Politically, it means holding leaders accountable for enacting strong climate policies, supporting international agreements, and funding climate adaptation and mitigation science. But there's also a specific, powerful tool related directly to forests, supporting forest carbon projects and reforestation. While protecting existing old-growth pine forests is priority number one, planting new forests, particularly with climate-resilient species mixes, helps sequester carbon, restore degraded lands, and create future habitats. However, this must be done intelligently, with native species and in appropriate areas, not simply as monoculture plantations. Another fascinating area of action is supporting the science of assisted migration. As the climate warms, the ideal climatic zone for many pine species is shifting northward or to higher elevations. But trees can't walk. Their seeds may not disperse fast enough to keep pace with the rapid change. Conservation biologists are now exploring the controversial, but potentially necessary practice of manually planting tree species and genotypes from slightly warmer regions into areas where they are predicted to thrive in the coming decades. This is a hands-on, proactive attempt to help forests adapt in time. It is a complex ethical and ecological puzzle, but it underscores the level of intervention that may be required due to the changes we have already set in motion. Finally, one of the simplest yet most profound actions is to cultivate a relationship with these places. If you live near a snowy forest, visit it with intention. Observe the quiet. Look for animal tracks, the delicate stitching of a mouse, the bounding pattern of a fox, the impressive drag marks of a porcupine. Notice how the snow clings to the north side of trunks. Feel the quality of the cold air. This personal connection is the bedrock of conservation. We protect what we know and love. By understanding the hidden drama of the subnivean zone, the clever engineering of the pine tree, and the planetary role of the snowpack, your simple walk in the woods transforms into a pilgrimage into a functioning, breathing, struggling world. That connection fuels the passion needed to defend it. Let's zoom in even closer, beyond the ecology and the threats, to the very essence of the experience, the profound psychological and cultural impact a snowy pine forest has on us, the human observers. Why does this specific landscape evoke such a deep sense of peace, awe, and even nostalgia? The answer lies in a combination of sensory psychology, cultural symbolism, and perhaps even evolutionary memory. Visually, the scene is a masterpiece of minimalist contrast. The infinite variations of white and gray from the bright, sun-struck highlights on a snowdrift to the deep blue shadows in the crook of a branch are set against the steadfast dark green of the pine needles. This high contrast, yet limited palette is calming to our overstimulated brains. It reduces visual noise, allowing our minds to rest. The complexity is in the textures, the fluffy powder, the crusty wind slab, the granular ice, the rough, fissured bark. Then there is the smell, the cold, clean scent of frozen air, infused with the resiny, camphorous aroma of pine and fire. This scent isn't just pleasant. Pinene, a compound released by conifers, has been studied for its potential anti-inflammatory and anti-anxiety effects. Our very breath seems to become part of the forest, visible as a cloud, a tangible connection between our inner warmth and the outer cold. The silence, as we've discussed, is an active presence. In a world saturated with artificial noise, this natural quiet is a rare and healing resource. Studies have shown that time spent in quiet, natural environments lowers cortisol levels, reduces heart rate and blood pressure, and improves mood and cognitive function. The Japanese practice of shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing, extols these benefits, and a snowy forest provides perhaps its most intense and pure form. The cold itself plays a role. It demands attention and presence. You cannot wander mindlessly. You must be aware of your body, your footing, your warmth. This forced mindfulness grounds us firmly in the present moment, pulling us out of the regrets of the past and anxieties of the future. Culturally, pine trees and snow are laden with symbolism. In many traditions, evergreens represent endurance, immortality, and resilience through hardship, life persisting in the face of death, as symbolized by winter. The Christmas tree is the most widespread example of this, bringing a symbol of everlasting life into the home during the darkest time of the year. Snow, meanwhile, symbolizes purity, a clean slate, and tranquility. Together, they form a powerful archetype of peaceful endurance. This landscape also taps into a deep evolutionary memory. For our ancestors, surviving winter was the ultimate annual challenge. Finding shelter in a forest that provided windbreak, potential fuel, dead wood, and perhaps even sustenance, pine nuts, needles for tea, would have been a sight of profound relief and promise. The ability to read the snow for tracks to hunt or avoid danger was a critical skill. This ingrained connection to the winter woods as a provider and protector may still resonate within us on a subconscious level. Today, the snowy pine forest offers a different kind of survival, a sanctuary from the frantic pace and digital overload of modern life. It is a place for introspection, for simplified existence, for reconnecting with elemental rhythms. Whether it's the solitary skier gliding through a silent stand of trees, the family building a snowman at the forest's edge, or the photographer waiting for the perfect light to filter through icy branches, we are all seeking a piece of that stillness, that clarity, that ancient, quiet strength. This intangible value is just as real as the ecological services. It nourishes the human spirit, inspires art and poetry, and reminds us of our place within a larger, older, and beautifully ordered world. Protecting these forests, therefore, is also about preserving these essential wells of human renewal. Yet, even this refuge is not immune to the modern world's pressures. Light pollution from nearby towns and cities can wash out the stunning clarity of the winter night sky above a snowy forest, severing our connection to the cosmos. Noise pollution from highways, industry, or even frequent low-flying aircraft can penetrate the acoustic sanctuary, stressing wildlife and shattering the silence we seek. The very act of loving these places to death through overcrowding, litter, and trail erosion is a threat. This creates a delicate, balancing act, promoting access and appreciation while implementing strict measures to protect the fragile qualities that make them special. This might mean designated quiet zones, limits on visitor numbers in sensitive areas, leave no trace winter ethics campaigns, and the use of shuttle systems to reduce traffic and pollution. It requires viewers like you to become ambassadors, to not only enjoy these spaces responsibly, but to educate others about the hidden life under the snow and the importance of treading lightly. When you post that beautiful winter photo online, tag it with a message about subnivean zones or the importance of staying on trail. Use your voice to amplify the science. The cultural and psychological value of the snowy pine forest gives us a powerful, personal stake in its preservation. It moves the conversation from abstract environmental concerns to the defense of tangible experiences of wonder, peace, and inspiration that are fundamental to human well-being. We are not separate from this ecosystem. We are participants in it. Our mental health, our cultural stories, and our sense of wonder are interwoven with the fate of these silent, snow-laden trees. As we reach the end of our deep dive, let's pull all these threads together: the silent physics, the hidden biology, the tree's resilience, the planetary cycles, the mounting threats, the paths to solutions, and the human soul's connection into a single undeniable conclusion. The snowy pine forest is a keystone ecosystem in every sense of the word. It is a biological fortress, a climate regulator, a water bank, a carbon vault, and a sanctuary for the human spirit. Its apparent stillness is an illusion. It is a stage for constant, intricate, and vital activity. The fresh snow is not a mere covering. It is an active, living membrane that mediates the survival of countless organisms and the health of our planet. The pine tree is not passively waiting for spring. It is actively employing a suite of sophisticated biochemical and structural adaptations to conquer the cold. But this entire majestic, silent system is balanced on a knife's edge. The very conditions that created reliable, cold, snowy winters are being destabilized by human activity at a global scale. The threats are interconnected. A warmer climate leads to less snow and more rain, which leads to ice crusts and collapsed subnivean zones, which leads to starving wildlife. It leads to proliferating beetles, which kill trees, which fuel wildfires and release carbon, which further warms the climate. It's a devastating cascade, and the evidence is no longer just in scientific papers. It's visible in the red, dead stands of trees, in the eerily quiet woods devoid of animal tracks after an ice storm, in the muddy, snowless January forest that should be deep and white. But this is not a eulogy. This is a call to arms, a call to attention, understanding, and most importantly, action. The fate of these forests is being decided now in the policies we support, the products we buy, the leaders we elect, and the way we choose to interact with nature. Ignorance is no longer an option. We must move from seeing a snowy forest as just a pretty backdrop to understanding it as the critical, functioning organ of our planet that it is. Every choice that reduces your carbon footprint is a choice for deeper future snowpacks. Every vote for a leader with a serious climate plan is a vote for the survival of the boreal forest. Every donation to a land trust or conservation group working to protect these areas is an investment in global stability. Every time you choose to recreate responsibly staying on trail, keeping noise down, packing out all trash, you are voting with your feet for the preservation of that very experience. And every time you share this knowledge, you are amplifying the signal. Tell your friends about the secret world of the subnivean zone. Explain the albedo effect to your family. Show your children engineering brilliance of a pine cone. Become a storyteller for this silent world. So here is your direct actionable mission starting right now. First, Engage with this information. Don't let this video be the end of your learning. The description box below is packed with links to peer-reviewed studies on snow ecology, climate feedback loops, sustainable forestry initiatives, and responsible recreation guidelines. Click them. Read them. Arm yourself with knowledge. Second, internalize the connection. The next time you see a picture of a snowy forest, or if you're lucky enough to visit one, remember everything you've learned here. See the water tower, the carbon bank, the insect fortress, the animal city, the psychological sanctuary. Let that deeper scene transform your appreciation into advocacy. Third, take tangible, immediate steps. Today, pick one action. Maybe it's writing an email to your local representative expressing support for clean energy policies. Maybe it's planning a leave no trace winter hike with friends and committing to educate them on the trail. Maybe it's switching one household bill to a renewable energy provider. Maybe it's simply deciding that your next social media post about nature will include an educational fact about the ecosystem. Small actions, multiplied by millions of people, create seismic change. This channel is dedicated to unveiling the hidden stories of our planet, to turning awe into understanding and understanding into action. We have the data, we have the solutions, and now you have the knowledge. The snowy pine forest has been a silent guardian for millennia, moderating climates, filtering water, and nurturing life now. It needs guardians in return. It needs you. The silence of the woods is not an emptiness, it is a question. A question about what kind of world we want to leave behind. Will we be the generation that listened to that silence, understood its meaning, and fought to preserve it? Or will we be the generation that allowed the last whispers of these winter cathedrals to fade away? The answer isn't just in the halls of power or in distant research stations. The answer is with you right now as you finish this sentence. So, make your choice. Become part of the story of resilience. Hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because next week we're diving into another fragile ecosystem that holds the key to our planet's future, and you will not want to miss it. But before you go, I want to hear from you. In the comments below, tell me one thing you learned today that changed your perspective, or one action you're committing to take. Let's build a community of informed protectors. Share this video with someone who needs to see this. Let's break the silence with a chorus of commitment. The forest is waiting.